Coming up on our broadcast for tonight, 5 were arrested outside of Ohio for conspiracy charges.
And Mothers Against Drunk Driving pays Bryant a visit.
Following that is sports, weather, the world news, and the Bryant Update.
And it all starts right now.
Straight from the Bulldog Studios at Bryant University, this is the Bryant News Broadcast, hosted by Todd Stewart and Sarah Larrabee, featuring Nolan Thompson with the weather, Brian Walsh and Chad Saber with sports, Dana Arenik with the Bryant Update, and Doug Sieber with the World News. This episode is sponsored by the Media Production Club.
In national news tonight, federal agents have arrested 5 people who plotted to blow up a bridge near Ohio. The 5 were arrested on charges of conspiracy and attempted use of explosives. Court documents say the FBI became aware of the men in October and were said to be part of the Occupy Cleveland protests. The 5 were then caught by savvy FBI tactics by undercover agents who sold them explosives. This story is currently developing, so check out more as it unfolds on MSNBC.com. Moving on to the environment now, the first major Texas wildfire of the season was reported near a cabin near Davis Mountains. The blaze was covered 20,000 acres in an area that was already struck by uncontrolled burning exactly 1 year ago today. The blaze comes as federal authorities and forecasters were anticipating an active, though not devastating, season.
Mothers Against Drunk Driving certainly has had an increased presence here on campus this semester. And last week, 2 mothers of victims came here to tell their stories about how drunk driving changed their lives in an instant.
But then he says, Mom, I'm not going to be late, I've got to get up early to go to work. And out the door he went, and the door slammed. And that was the last time we would see him alive.
Robin Modica lost her 19-year-old son Jeffrey in a single-car drunk driving accident in 2003. Jeff was on his way home from a friend's house after drinking just a few beers when he lost control of his car and slammed into a telephone pole.
There are no words that can tell you how excruciating that was.
Kathy Andriozzi was the mother to a 12-year-old nationally ranked karate enthusiast when a drunk driver failed to stop for Tori as she was walking home from school one day.
Life, as you know, it can change in a moment. And the choices that you guys make in life are going to dictate your moments and how they turn out. And they're going to be moments that you long to relive or live to regret. And I hope you only have moments that you long to relive.
Senior event coordinators Casey Mitchell and Janae Walker say that they believe in the mission of MAD, which is to, quote, stop drunk driving, support the victims of this violent crime, and prevent underage drinking.
We really realized that it can happen to anyone, anywhere, anytime. And so when I heard about this project with Janae in our class, we knew that this would be a good organization to get involved with.
Part of this event was a campus-wide effort to have students, faculty, and staff sign a pledge to not drink and drive, especially in the wake of spring weekend and summer right around the corner. Over 300 Bryant students, faculty, and staff signed the pledge. For more information or to volunteer yourself for MAD Rhode Island, you can visit their website at www.mad.org.
Boy, Sarah, that's such an awesome event, and I'm glad we were able to capture it.
They had such awesome stories, and I only wish more people were there to hear their message. All right, so now we're going to turn it over to Nolan with our last look at the weather for this semester. Nolan?
Well, thanks, Sarah. As you can take a look at the radar right now, you can see we do have some rain in the area, and we have some more moving in to stay for both tonight and tomorrow. Surely nothing like the great weather we had this past weekend for spring weekend. But if we take a look at the radar for this week, you can see that we do have rain expected for tomorrow. Friday has an 80% chance of rain. Saturday and Sunday should be sunny, but a little warmer than last week. And the next chance of rain shall be next Tuesday. A 40% chance of rain on that day, and that's your weather this week. Now over to Chad and Brian with sports.
Thanks, Nolan. The NFL draft is now over, and it was a fun one to watch as always. But in recent years, there hasn't been such a feel-good story as there was in this year's draft. In a symbolic gesture, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers signed Rutgers defensive tackle Eric LeGrand, whose playing career was ended by a spinal cord injury. LeGrand quoted, "It's something I've always dreamed about. Go to the NFL and retire and become a sportscaster. Dreams do come true if you really believe. You do the right things in life, good things happen to you." End quote. First-year head coach of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Coach Greg Schiano, who is the former Rutgers football coach, played a huge part in this decision. Schiano was quoted, "Leading up to the draft, I couldn't help but think that this should have been Eric's draft class. This small gesture is the least we could do to recognize his character, spirit, and perseverance." End quote. I have no doubts that LeGrand will be a great leader for the Bucs, even though he's on the sidelines. Now over to Brian.
Chad, that was a great feel-good story. But now from a class act to a classless act. The NBA playoffs is a time when tempers flare. But there is no way to defend Amari Stoudemire's smashing of a fire extinguisher after the Knicks' Monday night loss to the Heat. When coaches say, attack the glass, they don't mean it literally. Stoudemire cut his hand and as a result is out for Game 3 and possibly Game 4 of the series. Knicks fans have had a roller coaster ride of a season, from Linsanity to the firing of Mike D'Antoni, and now this? After getting embarrassed in Game 1, looking for a rebound in Game 2, this happens. Knicks fans are going to have a sour taste in their mouth after the current abysmal playoff showing. Amari, your team's down 0-2, and what you go do is not on the court, but punch a fire extinguisher? Come on, man, use your head. Now, the NHL playoffs have lived up to the long hype so far. After round 1, we saw the Canucks lose in 5, last year's champions Bruins fall, and many great 7-game series. The quest for the cup is heating up. Now, Chad, what do you think could possibly be, or has been, the best matchup so far this playoffs?
Well, I think so far it's been such a great playoffs already. I remember earlier on this show that the Red Wings set the record for the most home wins, and they got bounced by the Nashville Predators in the first round, which is crazy. But so far, my favorite series to watch, I might be a little biased here because I'm a Penguins fan, was the Flyers-Penguins, how the Game 3 was an absolute bloodbath, and then we kind of came back 3-2, but we couldn't pull it out. But that was an exciting series to watch, but I liked how the Canadiens, as an 8 seed, have done so well, and they're up 2-0 against the Blues. It's going to be interesting to see where they end up, but you know, the Coyotes are doing well. They're a scrappy team. They've been scrappy against the Blackhawks. They seem to pull it out in overtime. But if I had to do a finals, I'd probably have to see. I want to see the Rangers Canes a little 1-8 there. So I'd like to see that.
That would be a great final. So far, I mean, the playoffs have been really scrappy. There's been a lot of fighting, you know, a lot of penalties. In the end, Alfredson was tossed for his hit. And overall, I mean, I think the best series could be the New Jersey Devils and the New York Rangers if both teams make it past this round. The Battle of New York, who is the ultimate king, and going for the Stanley Cup. Overall, great hockey so far. Wouldn't you agree?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, again, with all the upsets, and it's not like, I'm not going to compare it to the NBA or anything, but where you have, you know, the 8 seed, the Kings, have done so well so far. I mean, coming in the playoffs, people thought they had a chance, and they've really proved those critics wrong, even though the ones that said they didn't. So it's been great overall. So
hockey is one of those sports you can't really predict upsets, and overall, it's going to be a dang good playoffs. All right, now over to Dana with the Bryant News Update.
Thanks, Brian and Chad. Bryant University dedicated the new baseball and softball complex named for Bill Conatee, who graduated in 1967, and his wife, Sue. The ceremonial first pitch took place on Saturday, April 28th, before the men's game against Fairleigh Dickinson. This $1.3 million donation from the Conatees helped transform the Bryant University baseball and softball complex into a first-class Division I stadium. That is arguably the best in New England. Since the complex opened for the season of March 2012, the average attendance has nearly tripled from the 2011 season. There still are a handful of home games yet to be played, so everyone can still enjoy the new stadium this year. Back to you, Todd and Sarah.
And wrapping it up for the final segment of the show is Doug with the World News. Doug?